Hello everyone, this is Sarita, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, Government Degree College for Women, Begumpet. In our previous videos, we have seen the introductory part of chromatography, in which we have seen the principle involved in it, the classification of chromatography, and also one of the most important technique, that is thin layer chromatography. Now in today's class, let us discuss about paper chromatography. So what is paper chromatography and how it is useful in the separation of the components from a given mixture? In this paper chromatography, as the name itself, we can see that it is paper. That means the separation is taking place on the paper. So this is the paper on which you can see the separation of the components is being taken place. Paper chromatography was first introduced by the scientists Martin and Sench in the year 1943. It is a type of planar chromatography. What is planar chromatography? In the last class, I have told you that the separation is mainly taking place on the surface of the paper here, whereas in TLC, it is taking place on the surface of the glass plate. Now in paper chromatography also, it is, you can see the separation is being taken place on the surface of the paper and it is on one plane. So it is known as planar chromatography. It is the simplest and widely used type of chromatography procedures which runs on a specialized paper. So this paper, whatever we we take for this paper chromatography technique is Whatman filter paper. So Whatman chromatography papers are available by which we can do this separation. What are the principles involved in paper chromatography? There are two principles that are involved in this paper chromatography. Those are paper partition chromatography and paper adsorption chromatography. Now, what is the difference between this partition and adsorption? Let us see. So first, partition chromatography. So in this case, the substances are partitioned or distributed between the liquid phases. So in all the chromatography techniques, I said that we will be having mobile phase and the stationary phase. So now in this case, in the partition chromatography, both the mobile phase and the stationary phase will be the liquid form. So between these two phases, which are liquids, the substances or the components have to get distributed. Now in this paper chromatography, as I said that the separation is taking place on the paper. That paper is made up of cellulose. And in that cellulose, we find small pores in it. Okay, these pores where water is held in these pores. So that filter paper, it is acting as a stationary phase. So the stationary phase is nothing but the water which is held in the pores of the filter paper. Whereas the mobile phase is nothing but the solvent, whatever we take. So in this case, both the stationary phase and the mobile phase are in liquid state. Why in liquid? Because here it is water which is held in pores is acting as a stationary phase. Now when a sample is loaded on such papers, what happens is because of the affinity of the components between the stationary phase and the mobile phase, the separation would take place. So here you can see it is based on the differences in their affinity towards both stationary as well as the mobile phase solvents, and due to the capillary action of the pores in the paper, because as whenever we have fine pores in the filter paper, it will show some capillary action. So due to that capillary action, the separation is taking place. So this is paper partition chromatography. So in paper partition chromatography, both the stationary phase and the mobile phase are liquids. Then we'll see about the other principle, that is paper adsorption chromatography. Now in this paper adsorption chromatography, what we need is we have again stationary phase and mobile phase. So mobile phase is liquid only, but the stationary phase is solid. So adsorption chromatography, it is nothing but it is taking place between solid and the liquid phase. Now in this, as we have seen for TLC, when the sample is loaded onto the stationary phase, it absorbs the sample. That means there is only a surface phenomenon which is acting between the sample and the stationary phase. So even in this case also, adsorption technique is involved. So actually whenever we talk about the principle involved, mainly it is partition rather than adsorption, because the water which is held in the pores of the paper, Whatman filter paper, they are acting as the stationary phase. Now you can see how in this diagram, how the solutes or the components are being distributed. So in this diagram, this is the stationary phase. Okay, this is the sample or solutes where we are having different colors in it, red as well as green color. Now some of the samples are, these components are adsorbed onto the stationary phase and some are not being adsorbed. Okay, they are moving in and out, this green color one. So what we can say that it is being distributed between the stationary phase and the mobile phase. Even in the next diagram also you can see the separation is based on solute partitioning between two liquid phases. So the solute, whatever is there, this is the stationary phase and the mobile phase. Now this is the solute or the component which is being moving in and out. It is getting partition between the two liquid phases. So generally the principle involved in paper chromatography is the partition type rather than adsorption. Now what is the procedure? How we can do the separation by using this technique? Let us see. So first step, what we need to do is, first step is important. That is, first we have to select suitable type of chromatographic technique. Now in this paper chromatography, we have three different chromatographic techniques. One is ascending, descending, radial. There is another technique also which is known as two-dimensional technique. Now we'll see what is the difference between all these different types of techniques later on. So first what we have to do is we have to select which chromatographic technique we need to perform. The second step is choice of the filter paper. So because the separation is taking place on the filter paper, this is very important point. So you need to select the filter paper. So what are the criteria or the factors that we have to check while selecting the filter paper? The first one is we have to check whether the paper is being used for quantitative or qualitative analysis. So suppose that is quantitative is we have to find the amount of the sample also here. Whereas in qualitative what we do, we just find out the nature of the sample. So we need to know whether we want its qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. And then according to that, we need to select the filter paper. Then we also should check whether it is used for analytical or preparative chromatography. So analytical, very small traces of a sample will be given, whereas preparative chromatography, you can measure its quantity there. So large amount of sample is also required. So based upon the sample, whether it is small amount or a large amount, based on that also we need to select the filter paper. And we should also check whether it is the sample is hydrophilic or lipophilic, and also whether it is neutral or charged. So depending upon the solubility, whether it is soluble in water or if it is soluble in lipid, or whether it is charged particle or a neutral particle. So by taking all these points into consideration, we have to select the filter paper. Then what are the various types of Whatman filter papers that can be used are? And as I said, the Whatman chromatography papers will contain cellulose. So it is made up of 90% of alpha cellulose. So for different chromatography technique, we can use different Whatman filter papers. Suppose if you want the coarser and faster papers, that is, if you are taking Whatman 31 ET. So this chromatography paper will help you to separate the components which can act in a faster way. That is, the technique will be very fast when we use this type of filter paper. Suppose if we are taking Whatman 20 Schleicher or Edrol 208, so these are nothing but the company names where the figures are given based on its porosity. Okay, so these papers are acting as a slow papers. That means the development will take very slowly. So when this development is taking place slowly, what happens is the resolution of separation, that is the resolution will be very efficient. That is the separation will be very efficient when we take slow papers. And we can also have some heavy papers such as Whatman 3mm. So it is generally used for preparative purpose, because in preparative purpose we take large amount of sample. Okay, so we need that paper to be very stiff. So this paper is very efficient for that preparative purpose. Now there are some of the papers where we can modify them. Okay, and you can see some examples are given here. One is carboxyl papers. So this carboxyl papers can be used for cationic separation of protonated amines and amino acids. So if you have a sample where we need to separate amines and amino acids mixture, then we can use this carboxyl papers. Then the other one is acetylated papers. So in acetylated papers, it is used for reverse phase chromatography. So reversed phase is nothing but we will be changing the polarity of the stationary phase and the mobile phase. So this acetylated papers, they are used for lipophilic substances like steroids, insecticides, pigments, and also other metal cations. So all these can be separated by using acetylated papers. Then the other one is Kieselguhr paper, alumina paper, zirconia, and silica papers. So all these different types of papers, they can be efficiently used, and we use almost these papers for the substances. What we can separate by this are amines, fatty acids, steroids, triglycerides, vitamins, and pesticides. Then there are another type of paper that is known as ion exchange paper. So where we will be having some of the ions which are embedded onto the paper. So that can be used for ion exchange paper chromatography. So the second point, that is first thing is we need to select the chromatography technique. After selecting what chromatography technique we need to proceed with, then we have to select the filter paper. So filter paper, we need to know the type of the sample what we are separating. So based on that sample nature, we can select the filter paper. Then the third step will be proper developing solvents. So as I said, the mobile phase is liquid here. That is, we are taking some organic solvents which are acting as the mobile phase. So we have some of the criteria for good solvent system. So the solvents, whatever we are selecting, the criteria for selecting of the solvent is the RF values of the sample should lie between 0.05 and 0.85 in the system. So before selecting the solvent for paper, what we have to do is we have to find out its RF value for that particular solvent. So that we can do it by TLC. So TLC, we have to run TLC first. Suppose if we are taking benzene as the solvent, so first you have to check the that is the RF value by TLC with the benzene solvent, and then you should find out the RF values, and they should lie between 0.05 and 0.85. So when the RF values they lie between this range, then the separation will be very clear. So you can easily identify the components, and also we can actually isolate the components also. And the other point what we have to take care is the difference between the RF value of any two components. It should be 0.05. Suppose if we are taking two components, suppose if you know that there are two components in a mixture, so this again you have to check with the TLC only, and you have to find the difference between the RF values of those two components. If it is 0.05, then you can select that particular solvent as suitable for running paper chromatography also. Suppose if it is just 0.01, so the difference is very, very less. That means it is not a suitable solvent for running paper chromatography. So these 2 points you have to take care while selecting the solvent system. And the solvent should not undergo chemical reaction with any of the components of the sample mixture. This is already with all the other chromatography techniques also we have to take care that the solvent should be inert. That means it should not react with any chemical. That is, it should not undergo any chemical reaction with the sample. The solvent should not interfere with the detection of spots on the developed chromatogram. So after development of the chromatogram, for detecting of the spots, that solvent should not interfere. Suppose if the solvent interferes, we cannot actually identify the spots. So the solvent should not interfere with the detection of spots. The composition of the solvent system should not alter with time. Suppose in some cases, we can take a single solvent or we can take a mixture of the solvent. So when you're taking the mixture of solvent in equal ratio, or it may be different ratio also, after when you're performing the experiment, then you have to see that the ratio or the mixing of the two solvents should not change with the time, because suppose at the starting of the chromatogram development, if it is 1:1 ratio, then it should remain the same composition, 1:1 ratio, and throughout the entire technique. Okay, sometimes what happens is one solvent, if it is more volatile, so what happens, the whole because as it is more volatile, it gets vaporizes, so the ratio may change. So that the care you have to take care is you have to cover that beaker or the paper chromatography chamber properly, so that the that is the solvent will not undergo volatilization, and then the whatever the separation, whatever we are doing will be very clear. So the composition should not alter with time. Then what are the solvents that we can select for this paper chromatography? So here it is given in the order of increasing polarity. So we can start over with non-polar solvents, just go on increasing the polarity. So from top to bottom, while you go from N-hexane to water, the polarity will increase. So all these are non-polar: N-hexane, cyclohexane, carbon tetrachloride, benzene, toluene. So all these are non-polar. So slowly you can increase the polarity. That is ethyl acetate, N-butanol, acetone, ethanol, methanol, water. So either you can start with non-polar solvents. If the separation is not good, then you can go for the combination of the solvents. One can be polar, the other should be non-polar, and with different ratios you can do the experiment. Based on trial and error method only, we need to select the proper solvent system. Then the fourth step is preparation of samples. Now we are ready with the paper and what type of solvent we require for this paper chromatography. Now what we need to do is we have to load the sample onto the paper. So for that we need to prepare the sample. Suppose if the sample is solid, so what we have to do is we have to mix that sample, solid sample, with a solvent, suitable solvent, where the sample has to dissolve in that solvent. So after the sample has dissolved in the solvent, then only we can load that sample onto the paper. So the sample volume may be 10 to 20 micrograms. It is ideal quantity to just load the sample onto the paper. Then how to load the sample onto the paper? That is nothing but spotting. Okay, so we have to use micropipettes. In the case of TLC, thin layer chromatography, we have used capillary tubes. Okay, just as a spot we load the sample onto the PLC plate. Now even here, suppose if it is for analytical technique, we have to load the sample by using micropipettes or microcapillary tubes. Then after that, development of the chromatogram. So after spotting, loading the sample onto the paper, what we have to do is we have to take that paper and develop the chromatogram. So we need to keep that paper in a chamber. So there will be a chromatography chamber, paper chromatography chamber, in which the paper has to be kept in that. Then after some time, you can see the separation of the components. Okay, then what we need to do is we have to remove the chromatogram, that is the paper, from the chamber, dry it, and then detection of the spots. You need to detect the spots. So in the detection of the spots, similar in the case of TLC also, if it is colored, so that those colored compounds can be detected by naked eye. Suppose if the solvent, if the components are not colored, that is if they are colorless, so what we have to do is we have to check the we have to detect the spots under the UV light or the iodine chamber. So the same process we have to do it here also to detect the spots. So after detecting the spots, the last step will be calculation of RF values. So as you know that RF stands for retardation factor, or it is a retention factor. So the last step after detection of the spots, we have to calculate the RF values. So depending upon the RF values, the spots have to be identified. So as I said, in paper chromatography, there are different modes of techniques. So first step in the procedure itself, I told you that in paper chromatography, first is we have to choose which type of technique we need to perform. So here there are different types, that is ascending, descending, radial, and two-dimensional. So first let us see what is ascending chromatography. So ascending chromatography is nothing but similar to that of TLC. Only the difference is we are using paper here instead of the glass plate. So what we have to do is in ascending chromatography. So here you can see in the diagram, this is the paper, Whatman filter paper. So first, after selecting the Whatman filter paper, you have to draw origin line, okay, with a pencil. So after drawing the origin line, then we have to load the sample on the line, origin line. That is, original spot is loaded here. Okay, then after that, we have to take that paper and then suspend it in a chamber. This is the chromatographic chamber. It is bigger when compared to the TLC chamber. In that chamber, we have to take mobile phase, that is the solvent, whatever solvent you are selecting for the mobile phase, we have to fill that, that is we have to take the mobile phase in that chamber, and you have to take care that the spot that or the origin line should be above the level of the solvent. So this is the level of the solvent here in the chamber, and you can see the spot is above that level. Okay, the loading point or the sample which is loaded is above the level. Now what we have to do is, so there will be clips here at the top. Now we have to hang or suspend the paper using those clips and then cover it with a lid. Okay, so now this is the complete equipment for paper chromatography. So what we have taken, first select the filter paper on which the separation has to be taken place. Then draw origin line. On that origin line should be a little bit like, if this is the paper, it should be around 2 centimeters height. So leave some space from the bottom and then draw origin line. On that, the sample has to be loaded. After loading the sample, let it get dried for some time. That means the sample will get absorbed onto the filter paper. After that, the sample is the filter paper is suspended through the clips here, where the solvent is taken in the chamber. The level of the spot should be above the layer of the solvent. Okay, now what happens? Now actually when we hang the paper, so what will happen is, because of the capillary forces which are acting, the solvent which is present, it will raise up to the paper. Okay, so when it is rising up, the solvent will come in contact with the sample. So when it comes in contact with the sample, it interacts with the sample, and the components which are present in that sample will get separated based on the partition or adsorption principle. So till the solvent has run up to 3/4 of the paper, this is the 3/4 level of the paper, you have to just watch the level of the solvent should come up to the 3/4 of the paper. That is taken as the solvent friend. So when it has reached up to 3/4 of the paper, we have to open the lid and then remove the paper from the clips. And then take a pencil and draw the line. That is the level of the solvent. So that we call it as a solvent front. Now after drawing, what we need to do is we have to dry the paper for some time. Just leave it there as it is. It just gets dried up. So after it gets dried up, you can see clear spots on the paper. If it is colored, it is visible. If it is colorless, you have to keep that paper under the UV light. So this type of technique we call it as ascending chromatography. Okay, why it is known as ascending is here, as you can see, the solvent is traveling up. That is, it is moving up, or it is ascending up to the filter paper. So from the bottom, it is moving to the top of the filter paper. So as it is traveling in upward direction, then that is known as ascending chromatography. So the chromatography technique where the solvent is moving, or if it is traveling in an upward direction of the paper, then we call it as ascending chromatography. Then we'll see what is next technique, which is descending chromatography. Now in descending, again in the name itself it is there, descending. That means the movement of the solvent should be descending. That means from top to bottom. So for this is the equipment required. Now in this case, you can see there is a trough here which is filled in with the solvent. That is a mobile phase. Now this is on the top of the trough. Okay, so complete this everything will be enclosed in a chamber. Okay, so there is a trough where the solvent can be filled in that, and this is the paper on which here you can see this is the origin line. Okay, on the origin line, the samples have been loaded. 4 different samples have been loaded, A, B, C, and D. Okay, so in this case, the origin line should be on the above top of the paper. Whereas in the previous case, the origin line is at the bottom of the paper. Now here, we have to draw the origin line on the top of the paper, and then we need to load the sample. After loading the sample, what we have to do is we have to take that edge, the top edge of the paper, and then touch into the solvent. Okay, there is anti-siphon rod also. So on this rod, if you just hold that paper and just roll it, the edge of the paper, the top edge of the paper will get in contact with the solvent. And then the paper is suspended in the trough like this, freely. It is freely suspended. So, and just leave it like that. Now what happens again, because of gravity, what happens is again the solvent which is present here, as the paper is touched, it is in contact with the solvent, it slowly travels down towards the down or the bottom side of the paper because of the gravity. So when it is traveling down like this, from top it is traveling down. So when it is traveling down, it will come in contact with these samples. So when it comes in contact with the samples, again, it depends upon the affinity which is present between the sample and the paper. If the components are more strongly binded to the stationary phase, then they will travel to a lesser extent, as we have seen in TLC. So more affinity towards stationary phase, less is the, or slower the component travels. Or else you can say, in other words, if the component has less affinity towards the stationary phase, then it will travel at a faster rate. So the same principle we can apply here. So whichever component is having less affinity towards the stationary phase, that will travel fast along with the solvent from the top. So the solvent is flowing downward. So as the solvent is moving downward on the paper, it is called as descending chromatography. Whereas in ascending, the solvent will travel up. That is, it will move upwards. In descending, it will move downwards. So here also we have to see that the solvent should travel up to 3/4 of the distance. Okay, till here. Suppose if till the 3/4 of the paper, if it is traveling, then we have to stop the technique, that is a procedure, and then remove the paper from the that is rod. and then dry it and detect the spots. If it is colored, again the same thing, we can detect it through our naked eye, and if it is colorless, we have to detect it under UV light. So this is about descending chromatography. Then, yeah, this is the diagram for paper chromatography, where generally we use upward method only, or it is ascending chromatography technique only. So this is the solvent. You can see the paper hanging from the clip, and this is solvent. The blue colored one is nothing but, we are showing in this diagram, is nothing but the solvent has moved upward till here, and these are the components which are present in the paper. Now, after doing this, that is after development, if you remove the paper, suppose this is after development, now there are three colors that are visible: red, purple, and blue. Now these three colors, as they are visible, we can say that there are these three components are present in the mixture. Now what we have to do after the paper has got dried up, now we have to measure the distances. So measure the distance from the origin line. This is the origin line of the paper. Okay. So from there, you have to measure the distances of each and individual component. So here you can see the red spot has traveled up to 2 centimeters. Purple spot has traveled up to 6 centimeters. Blue has traveled up to 8. And the solvent front, we need to measure the distance the solvent has traveled also. Okay, so that you have to mark it with a pencil after removing from the chamber. So that also we have to measure, which is 10 centimeters. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the RF values. So as we know that the formula for calculating RF is what? It is retardation factor or retention factor. So how to calculate? It is nothing but the distance traveled by the component divided by the distance traveled by the solvent. So by applying that formula, we can calculate the RF value. So here you can see RF value of red component first. So what is the distance traveled by that particular component? It is 2 centimeters. So divided by the distance traveled by the solvent, that is 10. So 2 divided by 10, it is 0.2 will be the RF value. Then similarly for purple component. So purple component has traveled a distance of 6 centimeters. So 6 divided by 10. So it is 0.6. Similarly for blue, it is 8 by 10. So it is giving rise to 0.8 as the RF value. So all these are the RF values what we have calculated by paper chromatography. Now after calculating this, we have to check these values in the literature. Standard RF values will be given, where it depends upon the type of the paper we have used, and also the solvent what we are using for the development. So based on those standard values, we can identify the components which are present in the mixture. So two techniques we have discussed. One is ascending chromatography and descending chromatography. Then the third one is radial mode. Okay, radial mode is nothing but, here what we require is the same Whatman filter paper, but we have to take a circular paper, okay, which is circle in shape, round in shape. Now what we have to do is take the filter paper and we need to cut that filter paper from the circumference. This is the circumference of the paper. You can see here. So from the circumference, take scissors and then cut till the center of the paper. Okay. And then another cut, leave some space, cut that from the circumference till the center. Don't pull it off that paper which is being cutted. So it should hang at the center. So that we call it as wick. Okay. So that wick of the filter paper which is cutted, what we have to do is we have to dip in the solvent like this. Now this cutted filter paper which is cutted from the circumference till the center of that, we have to place that wick such that we have to place that on a petri dish. This is a petri dish. Okay. So we have to place that circular paper horizontally on the petri dish. So when you place that horizontally on the petri dish here as a circle, the middle part, that is the wick, should hang or it should suspend into the solvent. So it has to touch the solvent there. So before doing that, what we have to do is we have to load the sample. After cutting that wick, whatever is there, we have to load the sample. Now in radial mode, we will load the sample at the center. This is the center point of the circular paper. So here we have to load the sample. Okay, after loading the sample, then we have to place the filter paper horizontally on the petri dish and keep this wick hanging into the solvent. Now what happens again due to the capillary action? The solvent is being, that is, it will move up towards the paper at the center first. So this is the wick here. Okay, through this wick, the solvent will move up till here. Now here, as the sample is loaded, so it is interacting with the sample there, and then it start flowing circularly, okay, like this. It will flow circularly throughout the filter paper because we have taken a circular paper. So this is the direction. From the center, the solvent will be moving towards the circumference of the paper. So while it is moving towards the edge of the circumference of the paper, now as the sample is loaded here, it is interacting with that sample and then the separation is taking place. So after some time, what we can observe is, we can observe some rings like this, circular rings. This is one ring where we are observing in this diagram. There is another ring, this is another ring which is being observed. So that means here the separation of the components can be seen, we can detect by those rings. So the number of concentric rings which are formed on the paper will give information about the number of components present in it. Suppose if we are finding 2 rings, that means there are 2 components present in the mixture and which are being separated also. Now after the, again here also, after the solvent has traveled up to 3/4 of the distance, then we have to stop the experiment. Just remove the filter paper from the petri dish, and that we have to mark it as a solvent front. Now in this case, as the movement of the solvent, that is, the solvent is traveling from the midpoint, that is from the center towards the periphery of the circular chromatography paper, it is known as radial mode. So in radial mode, what is happening? The solvent is traveling from the center towards the periphery or towards the edge of the paper. So that is why it is named as radial mode. So in radial mode, we don't find spots. We find concentric rings. So these rings will give information about the components which are present in the mixture. So this is about the radial mode. Then the other last technique is two-dimensional chromatography. So why it is known as two-dimensional is we perform this chromatography in 2 directions. They should be at right angles to each other. So the first one is, first what we do is same as our regular ascending chromatography, we have to do the experiment. So this is the paper, filter paper, Whatman filter paper. Then load the sample also there. The sample level should be greater, that is higher when compared to the solvent level. Okay, so this is ascending type where the solvent will raise up the paper and then interacts with the sample. Now the separation takes place. So after a few minutes, what we observe is we observe something like this. Okay, these are the different components which are present in the sample. Now what we have to do is the same paper after some hours, that means after all the separation has been taken place, what we will do is we have to turn this filter paper. So turn the filter paper 90 degrees clockwise. Just turn it to 90 degrees and then place the filter paper in the different solvent. Suppose if we are using benzene here, now you have to use some other. Suppose if it is chloroform, you can use the other as the solvent. So take another solvent in the that is the chamber, and then turn the paper and then just hang it in that. So what happens is here, again, the separation, whatever here it has taken place, you can see all the overlap of the components you can see in this case. Now, if you do this two-dimensional, so one-dimensional we have done first, then we have turned the filter paper in a 90 degrees clockwise, so that another separation we are taking by using different solvents. So after some hours, you can see that the components are being separated. They are separated apart. More spacing is seen between the components. They are not overlapped as in the previous case. So this two-dimensional chromatography is very useful for the components which are having very near RF values. When the difference of RF values between the components is less, then we can use this two-dimensional chromatography. So two-dimensional chromatography is nothing but where we are doing the same as first we have to do the chromatography, ascending chromatography, and then turn it to right angles, that is 90 degrees, and then perform another ascending chromatography by using another solvent. So the separation is very clear and neat. So these are the 4 different techniques we have discussed. One is ascending, then descending chromatography, radial chromatography, and the last one is two-dimensional chromatography. Then now we'll see what are the applications of this paper chromatography. So in all the chromatography techniques, the main application is nothing but the separation of the components. So even in this case, the same applications will come across. First, to study the process of fermentation and ripening. So we can study whether, suppose a fruit is there or a fermentation process going on, you can find out whether the process is going on actually or not by taking the sample and performing the TLC or paper chromatography. To check the purity of pharmaceuticals. So again, the same thing. If the drugs, whatever we are preparing, if it is having some, that is some of the impure things which are present in that, okay, then we can check the purity of that drug. To inspect cosmetics, same thing, cosmetics, whatever undesired compounds which are present in cosmetics can also be detected. It is used to detect the adulterants. So adulterants, you can take food materials, milk, everything. So everything can be detected. Adulterants can be detected from all the foodstuffs. To detect the contaminants in drinks and foods, the same thing. To examine the reaction mixtures in biochemical laboratories. So in biochemical laboratories, whether the reaction is proceeding or not, that we can check by paper chromatography. To determine dopes and drugs in humans and animals. So drugs or the doping, it will be taken by the athletes. So doping test. So even in that case also, we can take the blood sample and then we can check whether he has taken some drugs or not by using chromatography technique. So these are some of the applications of paper chromatography. So the main difference between the TLC, that is thin layer chromatography, and paper chromatography is only the there in TLC we will take the adsorbents which are sprayed, or we can dip the glass slide into the slurry and then we can prepare the TLC plates. Whereas here the separation is taking place on the paper. So both are actually surface techniques where the separation is taking place on the surface, and both are planar chromatography because it is taking place on the plane of the surface. So this is all about paper chromatography. So we have seen the principle behind paper chromatography. What are the different steps that are involved in this chromatography technique, and different chromatography techniques, that is ascending, descending, radial, and two-dimensional chromatography. Then after that, how to calculate the RF values also, and the applications. So you have understood, I hope you have understood the technique behind this paper chromatography. Thank you for watching.